Who's laughing now? The words sliced through the crisp October air, sharp and controlled, as Kiana Rhodes held a perfect vertical split midair, her right arm locked around Wyatt Anderson's neck. His 6'2" frame struggled beneath her, his face flushing crimson as he clawed at her forearm. Let go, he choked out, his voice cracking with panic. Tap out or pass out, Kiana replied, her tone unnervingly steady. Your choice, Wyatt. Around them, the plaza outside Riverside University's student union had transformed into an arena. 50 students formed a tight circle, phones raised high, capturing every second. The Austin skyline gleamed in the background, indifferent to the chaos unfolding below. Holy cow, someone shouted from the crowd. Is she really? She's in a split. How is she? 30 seconds earlier, Kiana had been holding her Chick-fil-A lunch, her biomedical engineering textbook tucked under one arm, just trying to get to her afternoon lab. Now that food was scattered across the concrete like evidence at a crime scene. Move, Wyatt, she'd said when he'd blocked her path. Isaac Leahy standing beside him, tattoos visible beneath his rolled sleeves, already smirking. Wyatt had stepped closer, invading her space. Or what? You gonna call campus security? His voice had carried across the plaza, confident, entitled. My dad just donated $6 million for their new patrol vehicles. They work for me. He gestured around at the gathering crowd, playing to them. You need to learn your place here. This is my campus, my university, my world. Girls like you? You're just visitors. Isaac had laughed, flexing his tattooed arms. Come on, Wyatt, give her a break. Maybe she'll be grateful, show some appreciation. That's when Wyatt had reached out and grabbed her wrist, squeezing hard enough to make her drop everything. See, we could be friends. All you have to do is. He never finished that sentence. What happened next seemed to defy physics itself. Kiana used his grip as leverage, pulling him off balance while simultaneously launching herself upward. Her legs split into a perfect vertical line as she twisted midair, wrapping her right arm around his neck in a textbook chokehold. Her gymnast core held the impossible position, a vertical split while essentially perched on his shoulders, her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training making the control look effortless. Wyatt's hands flew to her arm, tapping frantically, once, twice, 3 times. The universal signal of submission. She released him immediately, dismounting with the grace of someone who'd stuck this landing 1,000 times before. Wyatt dropped to his knees, gasping, his Sigma Tau Letterman jacket twisted around his torso. Isaac stood frozen, mouth hanging open, completely unable to process what he'd just witnessed. Don't ever touch me again, Kiana said clearly, knowing every phone was recording. And for the record, I earned my place here. You bought yours. The crowd erupted. Cheers, gasps, shouts of disbelief blended together as dozens of videos began uploading simultaneously, spreading across social media like wildfire. Kiana walked away, not looking back at Wyatt still kneeling on the concrete, not acknowledging Isaac's shocked stare, not hearing the whispers already beginning to swirl around her name. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that those 6 seconds of self-defense had just lit a fuse on something much bigger than a campus altercation. Those videos would travel further and faster than she could imagine, triggering a reckoning that would expose corruption reaching the highest levels of Texas education, challenge families whose wealth had bought them immunity for generations, and transform a quiet engineering student into a national symbol. Little did she know, that single act of standing up for herself would cost her everything before giving her the power to change everything. To understand how a biomedical engineering freshman from Houston ended up defending herself against the most powerful student on campus in front of 50 witnesses, we have to go back 3 weeks, to the day Kiana Rhodes first set foot on Riverside University's campus and met the young man whose father's money had convinced him he could treat anyone however he wanted. Before we proceed, here's a special shout-out to Yvette Allen Lawrence watching from the United States. Thank you for being one of our amazing supporters and engaging with the channel. If you'd also love to get a shout-out, subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. Thank you. Now let's get into the story. 3 weeks earlier, Kiana Rhodes stood in front of Riverside University's main entrance, her single duffel bag slung over her shoulder, her acceptance letter folded carefully in her pocket. The September sun blazed overhead, turning the limestone buildings golden, making the entire campus look like something from a dream. "You made it, baby girl," her mother had said that morning before Kiana boarded the Greyhound from Houston. Her mother's nursing scrubs were wrinkled from a double shift, dark circles under her eyes. But her smile had been radiant. "Don't you forget, you earned this." Her father, still built like the Marine he'd been 20 years ago, had pulled her aside. His voice had been quiet, firm. "You're just as smart as anyone there. Don't let anyone make you feel small. You hear me?" "Yes, sir," Kiana had replied. Now, standing at the edge of campus, those words echoed in her mind as she watched students stream past. Designer backpacks, luxury cars pulling up to dorms, conversations about summer homes in Colorado, family trips to Europe, trust funds, and legacy admissions. She tightened her grip on her duffel bag and walked toward her West Campus dormitory. Her roommate was already unpacking when Kiana arrived. A petite Asian girl with bright purple streaks in her black hair looked up and immediately broke into a grin. "You must be Kiana. I'm Jasmine Chun, Jr., accounting major, Dallas native, boba addict." She spoke rapid fire, her energy infectious. "Welcome to Riverside. Have you eaten? There's a Whole Foods on Lamar that's incredible. Also, Mozart's Coffee Roasters on Lake Austin Boulevard. Trust me, you'll live there during finals." Kiana felt tension she hadn't realized she was carrying start to ease. "Nice to meet you. I'm still figuring everything out." "Girl, same. I've been here 2 years, and I'm still lost half the time." Jasmine laughed, helping Kiana with her bag. "What's your major?" "Biomedical engineering." Jasmine's eyebrows shot up. "Damn, that's intense." "Respect." Kiana smiled. "It's what I've always wanted. I want to develop affordable medical devices for underserved communities. My mom's a nurse in 3rd Ward. She sees people who can't afford basic care every single day. I want to change that." "That's amazing," Jasmine said quietly. "Seriously, this school needs more people like you." That first week felt like walking through a postcard. Kiana attended her first biomedical engineering lecture in a state-of-the-art building overlooking the Colorado River. Professor Williams, a black woman with 30 years of experience, stood at the front discussing innovations in prosthetic technology. "Engineering isn't just about building things," Professor Williams said, her voice commanding the lecture hall's attention. "It's about solving problems that matter. It's about asking who gets left behind by current solutions, and then refusing to accept that as inevitable." Kiana had leaned forward, every word resonating. This was exactly why she was here. After class, she walked along the trail beside Lady Bird Lake, the UT Tower visible in the distance, joggers and cyclists passing by. Austin felt alive in a way Houston never had. Vibrant, full of possibility, a city where she could become anyone. But reality had a way of intruding on dreams. She'd gotten a part-time job at the Whole Foods on Lamar to cover personal expenses her scholarship didn't touch. Her shifts were early mornings, 5 to 9, before classes. She'd stock shelves alongside other students, some working because they wanted extra money for weekend trips, others, like her, working because they had no choice. "You're the scholarship girl, right?" a coworker named Brad had asked on her 3rd day. He wasn't being cruel, just curious. "The one with the perfect SAT score?" "Yeah," Kiana had replied, unsure how everyone already knew. "That's awesome. Seriously." Brad had seemed genuine. "My parents are paying 70 grand a year for me to be here. You got in for free, and you're smarter than half the legacy kids." "That's impressive." Kiana hadn't known how to respond. Pride mixed with discomfort. She didn't want to be defined by her scholarship, but here, it felt like a label she couldn't escape. Walking across campus between classes, she noticed things. The way certain groups claimed certain spaces. The South Mall steps belonged to Greek life, the engineering courtyard to international students, the Student Union Plaza to whoever had the most social capital. She noticed the clothes people wore. Canada Goose jackets, Golden Goose sneakers, Gucci belts. Her own wardrobe consisted of Target clearance and hand-me-downs from her older cousin. She noticed conversations. Spring break in Cabo. Someone's dad buying them a condo near campus. Internships secured through family connections. But Kiana had something they didn't. 10 years of gymnastics training. For state championships. A black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu earned at Houston Elite Academy under Master Chun, who trained her for free after seeing her dedication. Her father had insisted she learn self-defense, his military discipline shaping her training regimen. Balance, precision, control, Master Chen always said. Physical strength means nothing without mental discipline. She'd carried that philosophy into everything. Her academics, her training, her life. By her fourth day on campus, Kiana felt cautiously optimistic. Her classes were challenging but manageable. Jasmine had introduced her to a study group. Professor Williams had complimented her analysis in class. She'd even found a quiet spot by the Colorado River where she could study without distractions. That Thursday afternoon, she walked across the Student Union Plaza, her biomedical engineering textbook under one arm, Chick-fil-A lunch in hand. The October sun felt warm on her skin. Students lounged on the grass, others played frisbee. The UT tower gleamed in the distance. Everything was falling into place. She didn't notice the two young men watching her from across the plaza. Didn't see the Sigma Tau letters on one's Letterman jacket. Didn't register the calculating look in his eyes as he nudged his friend and started walking toward her. Kiana was thinking about her mother's words that morning they'd said goodbye. Thinking about Professor Williams's lecture on solving problems that matter. Thinking about how far she'd come from Third Ward. She had no idea she was about to meet Wyatt Anderson, or that this meeting would define everything that came next. Have you ever walked into a new situation feeling like you had to prove you belonged? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Wyatt Anderson had never been told no in his entire life. Born in Dallas's Highland Park neighborhood, where the median home price exceeded $3 million, he'd grown up in a world where money solved every problem, opened every door, erased every mistake. His childhood had been private schools with tuition higher than most people's annual salaries, family vacations to European capitals, a BMW for his 16th birthday. His father, Marcus Anderson, had built a commercial real estate empire across Texas. Office buildings, shopping centers, luxury apartment complexes. Forbes estimated his portfolio at $800 million, though Marcus insisted the real number was higher. Money is power, son, Marcus had told Wyatt repeatedly throughout his childhood. And power means you make the rules, not follow them. That philosophy had shaped everything. When Wyatt was expelled from SMU for an incident involving a female student at a fraternity party, Marcus made a phone call and donated $2 million. The expulsion disappeared, replaced with a voluntary withdrawal. The young woman transferred to a school in California with a generous settlement and an ironclad NDA. When something similar happened at TCU the following year, the process repeated itself. $3 million this time. Another student transferred. Another story buried. By the time Wyatt arrived at Riverside University, Marcus had perfected the system. Over 8 years, the Anderson family had donated $47 million to Riverside, a new athletic complex bearing the Anderson name, an entire library wing, 5 endowed professorships, state-of-the-art security vehicles for campus police. But the money came with invisible strings. In President Chambers' office, locked in a drawer most administrators didn't know existed, sat an agreement. Nothing official, nothing that would stand up to legal scrutiny, but understood by everyone who mattered. The Anderson family's continued generosity depended on certain considerations, particularly regarding their son. President Chambers, a silver-haired man 2 years from retirement, had rationalized it simply. One student's complaints versus programs that benefited thousands. The calculus felt cruel but practical. Dean of Students Rodriguez had been less comfortable with the arrangement, but she'd also seen her budget doubled after the Andersons' latest donation. New mental health counselors, expanded disability services, a food pantry for students facing food insecurity. Good things, funded by looking the other way when Wyatt Anderson crossed lines. Over 3 years at Riverside, 19 complaints had been filed against Wyatt. Inappropriate comments, unwanted touching, blocking students' paths and making them uncomfortable, following girls to their dorms. Each time, the pattern repeated. Initial report, quiet investigation, Anderson family lawyers arriving, and then the complaint disappearing, either withdrawn or resolved through transfers and settlements. Campus security knew Marcus Anderson personally. He'd funded their new patrol vehicles, their upgraded radio systems, even their annual training retreats. When calls came in about Wyatt, responses were slow, reports were vague, and follow-ups rarely happened. Listen, Officer Martinez had told a younger colleague who'd wanted to pursue a complaint more aggressively. I've got 3 kids in college. This job pays for that. Marcus Anderson's donations fund half our department's budget. You want to be the guy who costs everyone their overtime and benefits. The system protected itself. Isaac Leahy had watched all of this unfold with growing discomfort. He'd met Wyatt during freshman orientation, before he understood who Wyatt really was. They'd bonded over being from Texas, Isaac from San Antonio, Wyatt from Dallas. They'd rushed Sigma Tau together. For a few months, Isaac had genuinely considered Wyatt a friend. Then he'd seen the other side. The comments to women walking past. The way Wyatt treated service workers like they were invisible. The casual cruelty disguised as jokes. The sense of ownership Wyatt felt over campus spaces, over social situations, over people. Isaac had tried to distance himself, but by then it was too late. Wyatt had paid Isaac's dues when Isaac couldn't afford them. Wyatt had gotten Isaac's younger brother an internship at Anderson Properties. Wyatt held leverage, and both of them knew it. Isaac was at Riverside on an art scholarship, painting, specifically. He was talented, truly gifted according to his professors, but the scholarship covered tuition only. Room, board, supplies, everything else came from working 30 hours a week at the campus bookstore and summer construction jobs. His family in San Antonio depended on him succeeding. His mother cleaned houses. His father worked landscaping. His younger sister, Maria, was a high school junior dreaming of college. Isaac couldn't afford to lose his scholarship, couldn't afford to make enemies with someone like Wyatt. So he stayed quiet when he should have spoken up, laughed at jokes that made him sick, stood by while Wyatt pushed boundaries that should never have been tested. It aided him constantly. The Sigma Tau house on West Campus was practically a mansion, 3 stories, pool, game room, a chef who prepared meals twice a week. Marcus Anderson had donated the funding for renovations that transformed it into something beyond what most student housing resembled. On Thursday afternoon, Wyatt lounged by that pool, Isaac sitting nearby trying to work on a sketch for his advanced painting class. You see that new girl? Wyatt asked, not looking up from his phone. The scholarship student. 3rd Ward, Houston. Full ride. Isaac's stomach tightened. What about her? Just wondering how long it'll take before she figures out how things work here. Wyatt's tone was casual, conversational, which somehow made it worse. They always come in thinking merit matters, thinking grades and hard work put them on equal footing. Maybe they do, Isaac said quietly. Wyatt laughed. Come on, man. You know better. My dad's name is on 3 buildings here. Campus security drives vehicles he bought. You think some scholarship kid with a high SAT score has the same influence? Please. Isaac wanted to argue, wanted to tell Wyatt he was wrong, wanted to walk away from this friendship that had become a trap. But he thought about Maria, about her dreams of studying biology, about how he'd promised their parents he'd help pay for her college. He said nothing. Let's head to the student union, Wyatt said, standing and stretching. I'm hungry. They walked across campus together, the October sun warm on their shoulders. Students passed them, some nodding recognition at Wyatt, others subtly changing their paths to avoid him. Isaac noticed a young woman walking ahead of them, textbook under one arm, Chick-fil-A bag in hand, moving with the easy confidence of someone who didn't yet know she should be afraid. That's her, Wyatt said, his voice taking on an edge Isaac recognized. The scholarship girl. Isaac thought about Maria, hoped desperately she'd never encounter someone like Wyatt, and followed his friend toward confrontation he already knew he wouldn't stop. Kiana had just stepped out of the student union, organic chemistry textbook heavy under her arm, mentally reviewing molecular structures for tomorrow's exam, when she heard the voice behind her. Yo, Wyatt. That's her. The scholarship girl. She didn't turn around, didn't slow her pace. Keep walking, she told herself. Just keep walking. Excuse me. Hey, I'm talking to you. The voice was closer now, directly behind her. Then Wyatt Anderson stepped into her path, forcing her to stop abruptly or walk directly into him. Isaac Leahy stood a few feet back, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. Kiana met Wyatt's eyes. Can I help you? Maybe. Wyatt's smile didn't reach his eyes. He stepped closer, invading her personal space. I've been seeing you around campus. Always rushing somewhere, always looking so serious with those textbooks. He gestured at the chemistry book under her arm. What's the hurry? I have studying to do. Kiana tried to step around him. He moved with her, blocking her path again. See, that's what I'm talking about. You're always studying, always stressed. Let me guess, diversity admission? Scholarship student. The condescension in his voice was unmistakable. Around them, other students had started to slow, sensing confrontation. A few Sigma Tau brothers drifted closer, creating an audience. I earned my place here, Kiana said evenly. Now if you'll excuse me. Earned it. Right. Wyatt laughed, looking back at Isaac and the gathering brothers. That's adorable. Look, I'm just trying to be friendly here. Give you some advice. You don't need to work so hard, be so focused all the time. College is supposed to be fun, social. You should relax more, maybe be more open to meeting people. The way he said meeting people made her skin crawl. Kiana kept her voice calm. I appreciate the advice, but I'm fine. Are you though? Wyatt circled around her slightly, his body language deliberately dominant, making her turn to keep him in view. Because you seem pretty isolated. Eating alone in the dining hall. Studying by yourself. That's no way to experience Riverside. People like me, he gestured to himself, to the Sigma Tau letters on his jacket. We basically run this place. It's good to have friends in the right circles. I have friends. Do you? His smile widened. See, I don't think you understand how things work here yet. This university? My family's donated more money than you'll make in your entire life. We funded the building you just walked out of. The security that patrols campus? They drive vehicles my father bought. Isaac shifted uncomfortably behind him. Wyatt, man, maybe. I'm just being helpful, Isaac. Wyatt didn't take his eyes off Kiana. Just making sure our new student understands the campus culture. Kiana could feel her father's military training kicking in, assess the threat, identify exits, respond proportionally. Every instinct screamed at her to respond physically, to use the techniques Master Chun had drilled into her for 10 years. She knew exactly how to break Wyatt's posture, exactly where to strike to neutralize his size advantage. But she also knew what that would cost her. Around them, more students had gathered. She recognized a few female faces in the crowd, older students watching with expressions that said they'd been exactly where she was standing now. I need to go, Kiana said firmly. We're having a conversation. Wyatt's voice hardened. No, you're blocking my path and making assumptions about someone you don't know. Kiana met his eyes steadily. I've been polite. Now I'm leaving. She stepped around him forcefully enough that he had to choose between letting her pass or physically stopping her. He let her pass, but his voice followed her. I'll be seeing you around campus, scholarship girl. It's a small university. We're going to run into each other a lot. It was a promise and a threat wrapped together. Kiana kept walking, kept her posture straight, her expression neutral. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. But her hands trembled against the textbook she clutched, not from fear, from the controlled fury of someone who'd just been humiliated in front of 50 students and forced to walk away. Behind her, she heard one of the Sigma Tau brothers laugh. Damn, Wyatt. You really went after her. She needs to learn respect, Wyatt replied, his voice carrying. These scholarship kids always come in thinking they're special, thinking their grades make them equal. Someone's got to teach them reality. Kiana's vision blurred slightly. She blinked hard, refusing to let tears form. At the edge of the plaza, a young woman caught up with her. Hey, I'm sorry about that. He's done that to a lot of people. I'm fine, Kiana said automatically. I know you are. I'm just saying, you're not alone. If you need to talk, or if he does that again, I'm fine, Kiana repeated more firmly. She didn't want sympathy right now. She wanted to be alone. The walk back to her dorm felt endless. Every step replayed the confrontation in her mind. Every word Wyatt had said echoed. The way he'd circled her. The way the other brothers had gathered like it was entertainment. The way she'd had to choose between violence and humiliation and had chosen humiliation because violence would destroy everything her parents had sacrificed for. She reached her room. Grateful Jasmine was at class. Her phone buzzed. Her mother calling from Houston. Kiana stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the answer button. She could hear her mother's voice already, excited, asking about classes, wanting to know every detail about her daughter's college experience. She answered, Hey mom, baby girl, I've been thinking about you all day. How's everything going? How are your classes? Kiana sat on her bed, still shaking slightly. She thought about telling her mother everything, about Wyatt, about the humiliation, about feeling targeted and isolated. But then she pictured her mother in their small Houston apartment, still in her nursing scrubs, exhausted from another double shift at the hospital. She thought about all the sacrifices her parents had made so she could be here. "Everything's great, Mom," Kiana said, forcing brightness into her voice. "I love it here. My organic chemistry professor is amazing. The campus is beautiful. I'm really happy. Are you making friends?" Kiana closed her eyes. "Yeah, Mom. Lots of friends. Everyone's really welcoming." She heard her mother's relieved exhale. "I'm so proud of you, Kiana. You worked so hard for this. You deserve every bit of it." "Thanks, Mom." After they hung up, Kiana sat in silence, staring at her organic chemistry textbook without seeing it. Her hands had finally stopped shaking. She thought about Wyatt's parting words. "I'll be seeing you around campus. A small university. We're going to run into each other a lot." She knew this wasn't over. Knew it was just beginning. Would you have walked away like Kiana did, or handled it differently? Let us know in the comments. The harassment started small, almost deniable, the kind of thing people could dismiss as coincidence or overreaction. 3 days after their first encounter, Kiana sat at Mozart's Coffee Roasters on Lake Austin Boulevard, her laptop open, working on a biomedical engineering problem set. The view of the lake through the windows usually calmed her, but she couldn't shake the tension that had settled in her shoulders since meeting Wyatt. She was reaching for her coffee when someone bumped her table, hard. The cup tipped, hot liquid spilling across the surface, splashing dangerously close to her laptop. Kiana jerked the computer away, her heart pounding. "Whoa, sorry about that." Wyatt's voice. Of course. She looked up. He stood there, Isaac behind him looking uncomfortable as always. That same smirk on Wyatt's face that said the collision wasn't remotely accidental. "My bad," Wyatt continued, not sounding sorry at all. "Hope your laptop's okay. Those things are expensive. Can you afford to replace it if it got damaged?" He pulled out his wallet, making a show of it. "I could help you out. Buy you a new one. All you'd have to do is hang out with me sometime. Get to know each other better." Every word felt calculated to humiliate. "I'm fine," Kiana said, grabbing napkins to clean up the mess. "You sure? Because that scholarship probably doesn't cover new laptops, right? Must be tough, having to worry about money all the time." Isaac shifted. "Wyatt, come on. Let's just—" "I'm being helpful, Isaac." Wyatt didn't move. "Just making sure she knows she has options." Kiana kept cleaning, kept her eyes down, waited for him to leave. He did, eventually, but not before making sure everyone in the coffee shop had witnessed the interaction. 2 days later, Wyatt and Isaac showed up at Whole Foods during Kiana's morning shift. She was restocking produce when she heard his voice in the next aisle. "Isaac, man, is that the scholarship girl? Working here." They appeared around the corner. Wyatt's smile was theatrical, performed for the other customers browsing nearby. "Hey, I didn't know you worked here." Wow. That's great." His tone dripped with condescension. "Minimum wage, early morning shifts. Really making that education pay off already, huh?" Kiana focused on the apples she was arranging. "Can I help you find something?" "Professional. I like it." Wyatt picked up an apple, examined it, put it back. "Although, this produce section looks pretty disorganized. Is this really the best Whole Foods can do? Maybe management should reconsider their hiring standards." He was loud enough that her supervisor, David, glanced over from across the department. For the next 10 minutes, Wyatt found fault with everything. The temperature of the refrigerated section, the arrangement of organic versus conventional produce, imagined customer service issues. He asked to speak with management, filed a complaint about service that never happened, made sure Kiana's name was mentioned specifically. David pulled her aside after they left. "Kiana, I don't know what that was about, but we can't have customers complaining." "He's harassing me," Kiana said quietly. "He's making things up." David looked uncomfortable. "I believe you, but if he files another complaint, I'm going to have to document it. Just try to avoid any situations that could be misinterpreted, okay? Try to avoid situations." As if she had any control over when Wyatt decided to target her. Week 2 brought new tactics. Other Sigma Tau brothers started following Wyatt's lead. Walking past her on campus, they'd make comments loud enough for her to hear, but quiet enough that calling them out would seem like overreaction. "That's her, right? The one Wyatt was talking about. She really thinks she belongs here." Scholarship kids always have attitudes. An anonymous Instagram account appeared, posting her class schedule with commentary about where students could accidentally run into her. The account had no followers she recognized, no way to trace who created it. She found her bike outside the engineering building with both tires slashed. Campus security took a report, noted that there were no cameras covering that particular bike rack, said there was nothing they could do without evidence. The library became hostile territory. She'd be studying, headphones in, focused on thermodynamics, and suddenly Wyatt would be sitting across from her, uninvited. Studying hard, he'd ask, "What's your schedule like this semester? Where do you live, anyway?" West Campus. His questions felt like surveillance disguised as small talk. "Why are you asking me that?" Kiana said. "Just curious. Making conversation. Why are you being so defensive?" He'd say it loud enough that other students looked over, making her seem unreasonable. She'd pack up and leave, finding another study spot, only to have him appear again the next day. Week 3, the behavior became coordinated, systematic. In the dining hall, Sigma Tau brothers would claim tables around her, their conversations clearly designed for her to overhear. Crude jokes, speculation about her personal life, comments about her appearance. Wyatt started spreading rumors that she'd been inappropriate toward him, that she'd made advances he'd rejected, that her complaints about his behavior were revenge for being turned down. Offensive graffiti appeared in the engineering building bathroom. Her name with slurs. Crude drawings. She reported it. Facilities painted over it. It appeared again the next day. She went back to campus security. The officer who took her statement was the same one from the bike incident. "Look, I'm documenting everything," he said, not unkindly. "But without concrete evidence, witnesses, camera footage, something definitive, there's not much we can do. You're describing a pattern, but each individual incident it's hard to prove intent." "He slashed my bike tires," Kiana said. "Do you have proof it was him?" She didn't. She made an appointment with Dean Rodriguez, brought documentation of every incident, dates, times, witnesses when she had them. The dean listened, nodding, taking notes. When Kiana finished, Dean Rodriguez folded her hands on her desk. "I appreciate you bringing this to my attention," she began carefully. "However, I have to say, some of these interactions sound like they could be misinterpreted. College students are still learning social boundaries. Sometimes what feels threatening is actually just awkward flirting or poor attempts at humor." Kiana stared at her. "He's following me. He's coordinating other students to harass me. He got me in trouble at my job. Mr. Anderson is from a prominent family with a long history at this university," Dean Rodriguez said. "I'm not saying your concerns aren't valid, but we need to be careful about making accusations that could damage a student's reputation without substantial proof." She paused. "Have you considered that perhaps the social environment at Riverside might not be the right fit for you? Sometimes students find they're more comfortable at institutions with different cultures." The suggestion was clear: leave quietly, and this all goes away. "I earned my place here," Kiana said, her voice shaking with controlled anger. "Of course you did. I'm just suggesting you consider all your options." Kiana walked out of that office knowing the system would never protect her. Other female students started approaching her, quietly, in bathrooms, in empty hallways. "He did the same thing to me last year. I transferred because of him. I reported it. Nothing happened. My friend filed a complaint. His family's lawyers got involved. She ended up leaving." Each story was a variation of the same theme. Wyatt Anderson could do whatever he wanted, and the university would look the other way. October 18th. 3 weeks since their first encounter. Kiana woke up at dawn, stared at her ceiling, and felt something shift inside her. She was done being patient, done following procedures that led nowhere, done believing that doing things the right way would protect her. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "Sometimes following the rules just means giving bullies more time to hurt you." Master Chin's training. Control is choosing when to respond. But when you respond, be decisive. Today, if Wyatt confronted her again, she wouldn't walk away. She wouldn't file another useless report. She wouldn't call security officers who'd take notes and do nothing. Today, she'd make it clear she wasn't someone to push around. Kiana tried doing everything the right way, reporting, documenting, following procedures, and the system failed her completely. What would you have done in her position? Share your thoughts below. October 18th, 2024, 12:47 p.m. The weather was perfect, 78 degrees, brilliant blue Texas sky. the kind of autumn afternoon that made Austin feel like paradise. Kiana walked out of Chick-fil-A in the student union, lunch bag in one hand, biomedical engineering textbook tucked under her other arm. She was thinking about her afternoon lab, about the molecular structures she needed to memorize, about anything except what was waiting for her outside. Wyatt stood directly in her path, Isaac beside him. 6 other Sigma Tau brothers spread out in a loose semicircle. This wasn't coincidence. This was planned. Students immediately began gathering. 20, then 30, then 50. Phones came out. Everyone could feel it. Something was about to happen. Well, Wyatt said loudly, performing for the crowd. If it isn't Riverside's favorite scholarship student. Still pretending you belong here. Kiana stopped walking. Move, Wyatt. Or what? He stepped closer, invading her space. You gonna file another complaint? Call campus security. He laughed, looking around at the assembled crowd. My dad just donated $6 million for their new patrol vehicles. They work for me, not you. The crowd pressed tighter, creating a circle with Wyatt and Kiana at the center. Isaac moved slightly closer. Come on, Kiana. Wyatt's just trying to help you understand how things work around here. You could make this so much easier on yourself. Maybe show some appreciation for his patience. Patience? Kiana's voice was deadly calm. Is that what you call 3 weeks of harassment? Wyatt's smile disappeared. Harassment? I've been nothing but friendly. You're the one who keeps acting like you're too good to be social, too important to be approached. His voice rose, making sure everyone heard. You need to learn your place here. This is my campus, my university, my world. Girls like you? You're just visitors. He stepped even closer. Kiana could smell his cologne, could see the confidence in his eyes, the absolute certainty that nothing bad would happen to him, no matter what he did. Last chance, Kiana said quietly. Move. Instead, Wyatt reached out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was firm, controlling, designed to prove a point. See, we could be friends. All you have to do is. That's when everything changed. Second one. Kiana dropped her food, but instead of pulling away from his grip, she used it as leverage, pulling him slightly off balance. Second 2. She leaped upward with explosive precision, years of gymnastics training evident in the controlled power of her movement. Her legs began to split, her body rising higher than seemed physically possible. Second 3. Mid-air, her right arm wrapped around Wyatt's neck in a perfectly executed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu hold. Her left hand gripped his shoulder for balance. She was essentially using his body as her base. Second 4. Her legs locked into a perfect vertical split, one pointing straight up, one pointing down, while maintaining the neck hold. Her gymnast core strength allowed her to maintain the impossible position. Every muscle engaged, weight distributed precisely. Wyatt's eyes went wide with shock and growing panic. Who's laughing now? Kiana asked, her voice unervingly calm. Second 5. Wyatt reached up with both hands, trying to break her hold, trying to regain control. But her position was perfect, technique trumping his size advantage. His face was flushing red, not from lack of air, but from the pressure and the sheer impossibility of what was happening to him. The crowd erupted. Gasps. Cheers. Shocked laughter. 50 phones recording from every angle. Holy cow, is she really in a split? How is she doing that? Isaac stood completely frozen, mouth hanging open, unable to process what he was witnessing. Tap out or pass out, Kiana added, her voice steady despite maintaining a vertical split while controlling someone 8 inches taller and 70 pounds heavier. Your choice, Wyatt. Second 6. Wyatt's hand slapped desperately against her arm. Tap, tap, tap. The universal signal of submission, recognized in every combat sport. Surrender. Kiana released him immediately, dismounting with the grace of someone who'd stuck this landing 1,000 times. Wyatt dropped to his knees, gasping, one hand on the concrete to steady himself. She stood over him, not even winded. Don't ever touch me again, she said clearly, knowing every phone was recording. And for the record, I earned my place here. You bought yours. The plaza exploded with noise. Some students cheered. Others gasped. Everyone was talking at once, phones already uploading, fingers flying across screens. Wyatt looked up at her from the ground, his face a mixture of humiliation and rage. Isaac still hadn't moved, his expression stuck somewhere between shock and horror. Kiana turned and walked away, leaving her spilled lunch on the concrete, leaving Wyatt on his knees, leaving 50 witnesses to what had just happened. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from 3 weeks of controlled fury finally released in 6 perfect seconds. Within 30 minutes, hashtags started trending locally. Riverside University, scholarship girl, Sigma Tau exposed. Within 2 hours, the videos had spread nationally. 6 seconds justice was trending on Twitter. The footage appeared on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. Multiple angles, slow-motion replays, breakdowns of her technique. By evening, 2.3 million views across platforms. The comments were split. Half celebrated her. That technique was flawless. She literally did a vertical split while choking him out. I'm dead. This is what happens when you mess with the wrong person. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu plus gymnastics equals instant karma. The other half criticized her. That was excessive force. She could have seriously hurt him. Aggressive and dangerous. This is assault. She should be expelled. You know what happens to most viral videos of people defending themselves? They disappear. The algorithm buries them. The platforms restrict them. People forget. But some stories like Kiana's, carry a truth that refuses to stay buried. If you want to see how this really ends, if you want to know whether justice actually happens, or if power wins like it usually does, hit subscribe. Because what comes next, the legal battle, the corruption exposed, the choice between silence and speaking up, that's where this story reveals what it's really about. That evening, Kiana sat on her dorm room bed, phone in her hands, watching the notifications explode. Her inbox was flooded. Her social media mentions were in the thousands. The video kept auto-playing. Her perfect split, Wyatt's submission, her calm voice saying, "Who's laughing now?" Jasmine sat across from her, looking worried. Kiana, Wyatt's family is really powerful. Like, influenced the whole university powerful. His dad basically owns half the campus. You need to be careful. I know, Kiana said quietly. I'm serious. People who go against the Anderson family don't usually. Kiana's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. You just made a serious mistake. Wha? The email arrived at 7:23 a.m. The subject line stark and formal. Urgent. Required meeting with Dean of Students. Kiana read it twice, her stomach sinking with each word. Your immediate presence is required in Dean Rodriguez's office at 9 a.m. today regarding a serious incident. Failure to appear will result in additional disciplinary consequences. Jasmine looked over her shoulder. Oh God, Kiana. This is it. They're going after you. I defended myself, Kiana said, but her voice wavered. There's video evidence of him grabbing me first. I know. But his family. I know. Kiana cut her off. She knew exactly what Jasmine wasn't saying. At 8:55 a.m., Kiana walked into the administration building, her hands clenched at her sides. The hallways were pristine. Polished floors, expensive artwork on the walls. Everything designed to project authority and permanence. Dean Rodriguez's office was on the 3rd floor. Kiana had been here once before, when she tried to report Wyatt's harassment. The dean's assistant, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. They're waiting for you, she said quietly. Good luck. Kiana stepped inside. Dean Rodriguez sat behind her massive desk. Expensive artwork hung on the walls, Texas landscapes, abstract pieces that probably cost more than Kiana's entire scholarship. Photos showed the dean with various Texas politicians, including the governor. Leather furniture, polished wood, everything screaming power and money. But Dean Rodriguez wasn't alone. President Chambers sat in one of the leather chairs, his silver hair perfectly styled, his expression grave. A third person, a woman in an expensive suit, sat with a legal pad and pen ready. Ms. Rhodes, please sit, Dean Rodriguez said. Her voice was professional, cold. This is Janet Morrison, University Legal Counsel. Kiana sat, her back straight, refusing to show the fear crawling up her spine. I assume you know why you're here, President Chambers began. Because I defended myself when Wyatt Anderson grabbed me? Kiana kept her voice level. We have reviewed video evidence of yesterday's incident, Janet Morrison said, opening a laptop and turning it toward Kiana. We have serious concerns about your actions. The video played, but something was wrong. It started with Kiana's leap, her legs splitting midair, her arm wrapping around Wyatt's neck. It showed her holding him, showed his submission, showed him on the ground. It did not show him grabbing her wrist first. It did not show him blocking her path, refusing to let her leave. It was edited to make her look like the aggressor. That's not the full video, Kiana said immediately. He grabbed me first. There are dozens of complete videos from other angles. We have reviewed all available information, Dean Rodriguez interrupted, and made our determination based on that review. Your martial arts background raises significant concerns, President Chambers added. You have extensive training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and gymnastics. That makes you particularly capable of causing serious harm to other students. Kiana stared at him. So I'm being punished for knowing how to defend myself. You're being held accountable for an aggressive physical response against another student, Janet Morrison said carefully. Mr. Anderson required medical attention. He's experiencing significant physical discomfort and emotional distress from this incident. He grabbed me, Kiana repeated, her voice rising despite her efforts to stay calm. He's been harassing me for 3 weeks. I filed reports. I documented everything. Young interpersonal conflicts are unfortunate, Dean Rodriguez said, but they don't justify violence. President Chambers leaned forward. Ms. Rhodes, we're offering you an opportunity here. Accept a temporary suspension pending a full disciplinary hearing. 3 weeks. This allows tensions to cool, allows Mr. Anderson's family time to consider whether they want to pursue this matter further through other channels. The threat was clear: legal action, criminal charges, civil suits. What about Wyatt? Kiana asked. What consequences is he facing? Mr. Anderson has been granted medical leave to recover from this incident, Janet Morrison said. His situation is being handled appropriately. No suspension, no disciplinary action. Medical leave, like he was the victim. This is a joke, Kiana said flatly. This is your reality, Dean Rodriguez replied. You have 24 hours to vacate campus housing. You're banned from classes, facilities, and all university property during the investigation. Your scholarship status is under administrative review. The words hit like physical blows. Banned from campus. Losing her housing. Her scholarship, everything her parents had sacrificed for, everything she'd worked for, under review. If you fight this suspension, Janet Morrison added quietly, Mr. Anderson's family has indicated they may pursue more severe consequences. However, if you accept it peacefully, they might be persuaded toward a more favorable resolution. Translation: stay quiet, and maybe they won't destroy you completely. How many other students has he done this to? Kiana asked. Silence. How many complaints have been filed against Wyatt Anderson and quietly dismissed? This meeting is concluded. President Chambers stood. You have your instructions. I suggest you follow them carefully. Kiana walked out in a daze. She went directly to the Campus Advocacy Center, a small office tucked in the basement of the student union. A graduate student named Maya ran it, her expression grim as Kiana explained what had just happened. Sit down, Maya said. There's something you need to see. She pulled up files on her computer. Complaint after complaint. 19 formal reports against Wyatt Anderson over 3 years. Each one detailed inappropriate touching, harassment, stalking behavior, threats. Each one dismissed. There's more, Maya said quietly. She showed Kiana records from SMU and TCU. Similar incidents at both schools. Similar resolutions. Marcus Anderson's lawyers, financial settlements, students transferring out. It's systematic, Maya explained. He targets scholarship students specifically, people without family connections, without resources to fight back. His father's donation agreement with Riverside gives the Anderson family significant influence over disciplinary matters involving their son. That can't be legal. It's not explicit. Nothing's written down that would hold up in court. But everyone understands how it works. The university needs that donation money. Marcus Anderson makes it clear his continued generosity depends on certain considerations. Throughout the day, female students approached Kiana in hushed conversations outside the advocacy center. He cornered me in the library last semester. I filed a report. Nothing happened. He followed me to my car repeatedly. Campus security said they'd look into it. They never did. He spread rumors about me after I rejected him. I almost left school because of it. Each story was a variation of the same pattern. Each woman had tried the proper channels. Each had been failed by the system designed to protect them. By evening, Kiana was back in her dorm room, mechanically packing her belongings into the same duffel bag she'd arrived with just 3 weeks ago. Jasmine sat on her bed, tears streaming down her face. "Where will you go?" "My friend Marcus from Houston is at UT Austin. He said I can crash on his couch." Kiana's voice was hollow. "Just until I figure this out. Are you going to fight this? Or accept the suspension?" That was the question. Accept it, and maybe, they'd let her come back eventually, scholarship intact, if she stayed quiet. Fight it, and risk losing everything, facing legal action from one of the wealthiest families in Texas. But accepting it meant every woman Wyatt had targeted, and every woman he'd target in the future, would continue suffering in silence. It meant the system that protected predators would continue operating unchallenged. Kiana's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't open it, expecting another threat from Wyatt. The message read, "I have evidence. Information that can help you. We need to talk." TM. The university chose to protect wealth and influence over what's right. If you were on Riverside's campus, would you have stood with Kiana or stayed silent to protect yourself? Be honest in the comments. Kiana stared at the text message for a full minute before responding. "Who is this?" The reply came immediately. "Someone who's been documenting everything. Austin Java on Barton Springs Road. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Come alone. TM. The next morning, Kiana walked into the coffee shop, her duffel bag still in her friend's car outside, everything she owned reduced to what could fit in one bag. The cafe was busy, students on laptops, young professionals having meetings, the espresso machine hissing steadily. A young woman at a corner table raised her hand slightly. She had dark hair pulled into a ponytail, glasses, a laptop open in front of her. She looked familiar, though Kiana couldn't place from where. "Kiana?" the woman asked as Kiana approached. "I'm Taylor. Taylor Mitchell. Sit down, please." Kiana sat, wary. "How do you know who I am?" "Everyone knows who you are. That video has 8 million views now." Taylor's expression was serious. "But I've known about you longer than that. I've been watching Wyatt target you for 3 weeks. "Why?" Taylor took a breath. "Because I've been documenting everything Wyatt Anderson does for the past 2 years. And you're not the first person he's done this to. You're just the first one who fought back publicly." Kiana leaned forward. "Start from the beginning." "I'm a computer science major, junior year," Taylor began. "Freshman year, I went to a Sigma Tau party. Wyatt cornered me in a hallway, tried to kiss me when I didn't want him to, put his hands on me when I said no. I pushed him away and left." Her voice was steady, but Kiana could see the tension in her shoulders. "I reported it the next day," Taylor continued. "Went through proper channels. Filed a formal complaint with the dean's office. You know what they told me?" "Insufficient evidence," Kiana guessed. "Exactly. They said it was a he said she said situation. That college parties involve alcohol, and sometimes people misinterpret social interactions. That Wyatt Anderson was a respected student from a prominent family, and I was making serious accusations without proof." Taylor's hands clenched around her coffee cup. "Then Marcus Anderson's attorney called my parents. Very polite conversation. Explained that false accusations could have legal consequences. Mentioned that my family might face financial liability if I continued pursuing unfounded claims. My parents, they're school teachers, Kiana. They don't have money for lawyers or lawsuits. They were terrified. So you dropped it?" "I withdrew the complaint," Taylor said. "But I didn't drop it. I changed strategy." She opened her laptop, angling it so Kiana could see. The screen showed a complex file system, hundreds of folders organized by date, location, and subject. "If the system won't protect students, I'll create my own record," Taylor explained. 2 years of documentation. 847 hours of footage from public campus spaces. Kiana's eyes widened. "How?" "Hidden cameras in student union common areas, the library, dining halls. All public spaces where recording is legal. I'm a computer science major. I know how to set up surveillance systems." Taylor's voice held quiet pride. "Wyatt thinks he's untouchable, but I've recorded everything." She clicked through folders. Video files with timestamps, audio recordings, transcripts. September 15th, Taylor said, opening a file. "Wyatt and Isaac at Austin Java, discussing you." The video played. Wyatt's voice, clear as day. "The new scholarship girl, the one from 3rd Ward. She's got an attitude. Needs to learn her place." Isaac's uncomfortable laugh. "Man, maybe just leave her alone. My dad's already talked to President Chambers." Made sure they understand our family's position. That girl can file all the complaints she wants. Nothing's going to happen to me. Kiana felt ice in her veins. Taylor clicked to another file. October 3rd. Wyatt with other Sigma Tau brothers, discussing coordinated harassment tactics. More footage. Wyatt assigning different brothers to accidentally run into Kiana in various locations. Making it systematic, planned. October 10th. Taylor continued. Marcus Anderson meeting privately with President Chambers and Dean Rodriguez. The footage showed Riverside University's president and dean entering a private dining room at a downtown restaurant. Marcus Anderson, distinguished, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Kiana's car, greeting them warmly. The audio was harder to make out, but certain phrases came through clearly. Continued partnership, significant concerns about negative publicity, need assurances that family matters will be handled discreetly. I have hours of this, Taylor said. Conversations where Wyatt discusses his immunity from consequences. Footage of his inappropriate behavior toward other women. Evidence of coordination with fraternity brothers. Recordings of administrators discussing how to manage complaints involving major donor families. She closed the laptop and looked directly at Kiana. I also have a network. 34 other students affected by Wyatt, some directly, some who witnessed his behavior, some who filed complaints that disappeared. They're willing to provide testimony if there's genuine hope for accountability. Why are you showing me this? Kiana asked. Because you're the first person who fought back publicly. The first person who made him submit in front of witnesses. You showed everyone that Wyatt Anderson isn't untouchable. Taylor's expression intensified. But I need to know, are you willing to fight this publicly? Because I have the evidence, but I need someone brave enough to use it. Kiana thought about the suspension, about losing her scholarship, about her mother's face when she'd called to say everything was fine. She thought about the 19 other complaints, the women who'd transferred schools or dropped out entirely. What are the risks? She asked. The Anderson family has resources most people can't imagine. Attorneys on retainer, private investigators, political connections reaching the governor's office. They'll come after you with everything. Taylor's voice was stark. They'll try to destroy your credibility, your future, maybe even your family's financial stability. That's what they did to me when I was just one person. You'd be taking them on with evidence that could actually damage them. Why risk this? Kiana asked. Why not just graduate and move on? Taylor was quiet for a moment. I have a younger sister. She'll start college in 2 years. She's excited, optimistic, thinks the world is fair. Her voice cracked slightly. I can't let her walk into a system where someone like Wyatt Anderson can hurt her and face no consequences. I won't. She pulled a flash drive from her bag, set it on the table between them. This is a copy of everything. All 847 hours. All the transcripts. All the documentation. If something happens to me, if they pressure me into silence like they've done to others, you have it all. Kiana stared at the small device. Something so tiny, containing the power to challenge a family's wealth, a university's corruption, an entire system designed to protect predators. What do we do next? She asked. Taylor's expression hardened with determination. We gather everyone together. Every person affected, every witness, everyone who's ever been afraid to speak up. And then we demand accountability. Not through the university's internal processes. They're compromised. We go public. We go to the media, to Title IX investigators, to anyone who'll listen. We make this too big for them to bury. Kiana picked up the flash drive, closed her fingers around it. When do we start? Tonight, Taylor said. I've already reached out to the others. They're ready. They're just waiting for someone to lead. Have you ever had evidence of something wrong, but been too afraid to use it? What would it take for you to speak up? Share your thoughts in the comments. 3 weeks later, Kiana walked into the administrative hearing room with Taylor beside her, the flash drive heavy in her pocket like a talisman. The room was formal, intimidating by design. 5 panel members sat at an elevated table, 3 faculty members, a Title IX coordinator, and an external legal consultant. University legal counsel occupied a separate table, files stacked precisely. And there, in the front row, sat Marcus Anderson. Expensive charcoal suit, probably worth more than a semester's tuition. His posture radiated confidence, the assured bearing of someone who'd never lost a battle that mattered. Wyatt sat at the respondents' table, wearing a button-down shirt and looking subdued. almost vulnerable. Carefully crafted image management. The panel chair, Professor Ellen Whitmore from the law school, called the hearing to order. We're here to review the suspension of Ms. Kiana Rhodes following an incident on October 18th. Mr. Anderson, you may present your testimony. Wyatt stood, his voice measured and controlled. Rehearsed. I was just trying to have a conversation with Ms. Rhodes outside the student union, he began. A friendly conversation. We'd had some misunderstandings previously, and I wanted to clear the air, maybe offer to help her adjust to campus life. He paused, letting that sink in. The generous rich kid trying to help the struggling scholarship student. Instead, she attacked me without warning. Jumped on me, wrapped her arm around my neck. I couldn't breathe. I thought, his voice cracked convincingly. I thought she was going to seriously hurt me. I had to tap out just to survive. Murmurs from the panel members. Some looked sympathetic. Since that day, I've had ongoing nightmares. Difficulty breathing. Fear of being on campus around her. Wyatt looked directly at the panel. I understand she has martial arts training. She used those skills against me in a public space. I'm afraid of what she might do if she's allowed back on campus. Marcus Anderson nodded approvingly from his seat. Janet Morrison, University Legal Counsel, stood. The university has a responsibility to ensure all students feel safe. Ms. Rhodes's documented martial arts background, combined with this violent incident, presents significant concerns. Professor Whitmore turned to Kiana. Ms. Rhodes, do you wish to present testimony? Kiana stood, but before she could speak, the hearing room door opened. Taylor Mitchell walked in carrying a laptop and external hard drive. Behind her came 30 other students, filing quietly into the public seating area. Professor Whitmore, Taylor said clearly, I have evidence relevant to these proceedings. Evidence the panel needs to see before making any determination. Marcus Anderson's expression tightened. This is highly irregular. Who is this person? Taylor Mitchell, computer science major. I've been documenting Wyatt Anderson's behavior in public campus spaces for 2 years. Taylor connected her laptop to the room's projection system. 847 hours of footage from legal public recordings. Objection, Janet Morrison said immediately. This evidence wasn't submitted in advance. Because I didn't know if I'd be allowed to present it, Taylor interrupted. But Title IX proceedings require consideration of all relevant evidence. This is extremely relevant. Professor Whitmore considered, then nodded. Proceed, Ms. Mitchell. But briefly. Taylor opened a video file dated September 15th. The projection screen lit up with footage from Austin, Java. Wyatt and Isaac sitting at a table, their conversation clearly audible. Wyatt's voice filled the room. The new scholarship girl, the one from 3rd Ward. She's got an attitude. Needs to learn her place. Isaac's uncomfortable response. Man, maybe just leave her alone? My dad's already talked to President Chambers. Made sure they understand our family's position. That girl can file all the complaints she wants. Nothing's going to happen to me. I can do whatever I want. Dad's donations make me untouchable. The room went silent. Marcus Anderson's confident expression cracked. Color drained from his face. Taylor didn't stop. She played footage of Wyatt coordinating harassment with fraternity brothers, planning how to make Kiana's life difficult, discussing previous complaints and how they disappeared. I've documented 63 students who experienced inappropriate behavior from Wyatt Anderson, Taylor stated. 19 filed formal complaints over 3 years. All were quietly dismissed without proper investigation. I have their names, their statements, and evidence corroborating their experiences. She turned to face the panel directly. This hearing isn't about one incident of self-defense. It's about a systematic pattern of predatory behavior protected by wealth and institutional corruption. Marcus Anderson stood abruptly. This is outrageous. You can't ambush my son with. Mr. Anderson, sit down. Professor Whitmore said firmly, or you'll be removed from these proceedings. He sat, but his jaw was clenched, his hands gripping the armrests. The hearing continued into a second day. Isaac Leahy walked in wearing a Riverside University hoodie, not his Sigma Tau jacket. He carried a personal journal, his hands visibly shaking. Mr. Leahy, Professor Whitmore said gently, you requested to provide testimony? Yes, ma'am. Isaac's voice was barely above a whisper. He looked at Wyatt, then away quickly. I need to tell the truth. I've been silent too long. He opened his journal, pages covered in handwritten notes, dates, details. I've witnessed Wyatt's pattern of behavior for 3 years. I documented incidents because I felt trapped. He helped my family financially, got my brother an internship. But he also threatened me. Isaac's voice strengthened. He said if I ever crossed him, he'd make my younger sister's college experience memorable when she enrolled. That's a direct quote. Wyatt's expression hardened. Isaac provided specific incidents, dates, affected individuals, details of Marcus Anderson's direct involvement in covering things up. He revealed documentation of Wyatt's previous issues at SMU and TCU, both resolved through family legal intervention and financial settlements totaling over $5 million. Kiana Rhodes defended herself against someone who's been hurting people for years without consequences. Isaac said, his voice breaking. She did what the rest of us were too afraid to do. She stood up to him. Marcus Anderson's face had turned crimson. This is completely inappropriate. My son is the victim here. Mr. Anderson, Professor Whitmore interrupted, her voice like steel. You will not speak again unless directly addressed by this panel. The silence that followed was absolute. Professor Whitmore conferred with the other panel members for 20 minutes. Then she turned back to face the room. After reviewing all evidence presented, this panel makes the following determinations. She began formally. All charges against Ms. Kiana Rhodes are dismissed immediately. Ms. Rhodes, the university extends its formal apology for the handling of this matter and for the suffering you've endured. Kiana felt her knees weaken. Mr. Wyatt Anderson is expelled from Riverside University effective immediately. This case is being referred to the Travis County District Attorney's Office for investigation into possible criminal conduct. Additionally, we are ordering a full inquiry into the university administration's handling of previous complaints against Mr. Anderson. Professor Whitmore's expression was grim. President Chambers and Dean Rodriguez are hereby placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation into their role in suppressing legitimate complaints. Marcus Anderson stood, his face a mask of fury. This is not over. My attorneys will be contacted by the university's legal team. Professor Whitmore finished. This hearing is adjourned. Kiana walked out of the hearing room in a daze. The hallway was packed. Taylor, Jasmine, students she recognized from Taylor's network, people she'd never met holding signs that read, "Justice for Kiana," and "Believe survivors." News cameras captured everything. Reporters shouted questions. Flashbulbs popped. Her phone rang. Mom calling. Kiana answered with shaking hands. Mom, baby girl, I'm watching the news. They're showing. Oh my God. Kiana, why didn't you tell me? And for the first time in weeks, Kiana let herself cry. Not quiet tears in her dorm room, but full, gasping sobs of relief and exhaustion and overwhelming emotion. I'm okay, Mom, she managed. It's over. I'm okay. Around her, supporters cheered. Taylor squeezed her shoulder. Jasmine was crying too. Justice had finally come. Sometimes the system works exactly when people refuse to let it fail. When enough voices speak up, when evidence can't be buried, when courage becomes contagious, that's when change happens. If this story moved you, hit that like button and share it. Because stories like Kiana's need to reach people who are still fighting their own battles. 2 months after the hearing, 3,000 people gathered on Riverside University's main mall. The evening air was cool, typical November in Austin, and the UT Tower glowed burnt orange in the distance, a beacon against the darkening sky. Kiana stood backstage, watching the crowd swell. Students, faculty, community members, reporters with cameras. A massive banner hung from the stage. Title IX now, Kiana's Law. Taylor appeared beside her. You ready? No, Kiana admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. When she walked on stage, the roar of applause was deafening. It took nearly a minute for the crowd to quiet enough for her to speak. I didn't ask to become a symbol, Kiana began, her voice amplified across the mall. I just wanted to study engineering and eat breakfast tacos at Torchy's and build a career helping people. I wanted to be a college student, not a headline. The crowd listened, absolutely silent now. But here's what I learned. When you stand up against injustice, when you refuse to stay silent, you stop being just yourself. You become everyone who came before you and everyone who'll come after. She paused, gathering strength. 63 women experienced similar treatment from Wyatt Anderson before me. 63. The system failed them. That ends now. Not just here, but everywhere. The applause started again, building like a wave. Behind her on stage, the university's interim president, Dr. Sarah Chun, stepped forward to announce sweeping reforms. Mandatory Title IX training for all administrators, updated annually. An independent oversight committee for harassment complaints with zero administrative interference. Public reporting of all disciplinary outcomes involving harassment, with privacy protections for victims built in. President Chambers had resigned 3 days after the hearing. Dean Rodriguez had been terminated. Both faced ongoing investigations. The legal outcomes had come swift and decisive. Wyatt had accepted a plea agreement 2 weeks prior. Multiple counts related to harassment and intimidating behavior. He'd served time in Travis County Detention Facility, followed by extended probation and mandatory counseling. His face when the judge read the sentence had been pale, disbelieving, as though he still couldn't comprehend that consequences applied to him. Marcus Anderson faced federal charges, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, conspiracy to interfere with Title IX investigations. His attorneys were fighting, but the evidence Taylor had compiled was overwhelming. The biggest change came from the Texas legislature. Representative Maria Santos, whose daughter attended Texas State, had watched the news coverage and immediately drafted legislation. Within 6 weeks, both chambers had passed what the media dubbed Kiana's Law. The law required all state-funded universities to maintain truly independent Title IX offices. No administrative or donor influence over investigations of harassment or inappropriate behavior. Mandatory public reporting of disciplinary outcomes with privacy protections for victims. And most importantly, criminal penalties for administrators who suppressed or mishandled complaints. Governor Abbott signed it into law with Kiana standing beside him, cameras capturing the moment. This should have existed already, the governor said during the signing ceremony. But one young woman's courage forced us to confront failures in our system. That takes remarkable strength. The impact rippled outward. Survivors from 5 other Texas universities came forward. Similar stories, wealthy families using influence to protect their children from consequences. A pattern emerged, systematic and disturbing, stretching across multiple institutions. The Federal Department of Education launched a comprehensive Title IX compliance review. Riverside temporarily lost federal funding, faced mandatory institutional reforms. Other schools scrambled to demonstrate compliance before they faced similar consequences. Kiana appeared on Good Morning America, CNN, every major news outlet. She told her story over and over, each retelling a little easier, each interview reaching someone who needed to hear it. But the media appearances weren't enough. 6 months after the hearing, Kiana launched Voice in Vault, a nonprofit organization supporting individuals who experienced harassment on college campuses nationwide. Legal resources, counseling connections, advocacy support. Everything she'd wished existed when she was facing Wyatt alone. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, $2.3 million raised in the first year. People who'd experienced similar situations, people who had children in college, people who just believed in what Kiana represented. By year 2, Voice in Vault had chapters at 47 universities across the country. Taylor served as Chief Technology Officer, building a secure reporting platform where survivors could document incidents, access resources, and connect with others facing similar challenges. Isaac volunteered as an outreach coordinator, speaking at high schools and universities about bystander intervention and the importance of speaking up even when it's difficult. I stayed silent for too long, he told audiences repeatedly. I watched someone hurt people, and I did nothing because I was afraid. That's on me. But I'm trying to do better now. We all can. 4 years after the viral video, Kiana walked across the graduation stage in her cap and gown, Rhodes Scholar nominee, valedictorian of the class of 2028. The ceremony was held in the same plaza where everything had begun. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. When she approached the podium to deliver the valedictory speech, 10,000 people sat in folding chairs, families and graduates and faculty. Someone once told me I should learn my place. Kiana began, her voice strong and clear. That I was just a visitor in his world, that wealth and status created different rules for different people. She paused, looking out across the sea of faces. I did learn my place. My place is standing up, speaking out, making sure no one else has to defend themselves in a viral video just to get basic justice and human dignity. My place is using whatever privilege this platform has given me to amplify voices that are still being silenced. The crowd rose to its feet, applause echoing across campus. It went on for 3 full minutes, waves of sound washing over her. After the ceremony, Kiana walked to the exact spot where she'd confronted Wyatt. The university had installed a commemorative plaque, brass against the concrete. Here, Kiana Rhodes stood her ground and changed everything. October 18th, 2024. Her mother stood beside her, tears streaming down her face. Her father, still built like the Marine he'd been, squeezed her shoulder. "We're so proud of you, baby girl," her mother whispered. Kiana's story didn't end when she got justice. It began there. She took 6 seconds of defending herself and turned them into a lifetime of defending others. That's what real change looks like. It's not one viral moment. It's the years of work that follow, when cameras are gone and attention fades, when you have to choose every single day to keep fighting for what's right. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe one person really can change broken systems, then subscribe. Because there are thousands of Kianas out there right now, facing their own challenges, wondering if speaking up is worth it. Your subscription tells them it is. 5 years after the viral video, Kiana Rhodes sat in a congressional hearing room in Washington, D.C., 23 years old, biomedical engineering degree from Riverside, running a nonprofit that had helped over 400 survivors seek justice on college campuses nationwide. The room was formal, imposing, marble columns, American flags, senators arranged in an elevated semicircle. She'd testified before state legislatures, spoken at universities, addressed thousands. But this felt different. Federal Title IX reform legislation hung in the balance, and her testimony could influence its passage. As she prepared to speak, she thought back to that October afternoon, the moment Wyatt grabbed her wrist, the split-second decision to respond instead of endure. 6 seconds that changed her life. 6 seconds that changed everything. She leaned toward the microphone. "My name is Kiana Rhodes, and I'm here to tell you why 6 seconds of self-defense should never require years of fighting for basic justice."
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe if you are yet to. This tells me that my effort spent in making the video wasn't in vain. Thank you, you rare piece of gem.